Okay. So it's 11:30, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. I will apologize in advance because the schedule's changed last minute. My fiance's out of town, so I have the baby by myself today, my baby. So if you guys hear like musicals in the background or like little pterodactyl noises, just know this is like a one-time thing. For example, that it is a one-time thing. So going forward, it'll be much more focused. But we're gonna make it work. So okay. So anatomy and physiology, I'm going to be your instructor this semester. I need to double check to make sure that these are my office hours. I believe these are the correct ones right now. So my office hours are entirely online. Okay. If you guys ever want to schedule an appointment with me, all you have to do, you'll go on to Brightspace. Now with Brightspace, we're going to be doing like a lot of clicking back and forth. We'll talk about the textbook in a minute. We're going to be doing a lot of clicking back and forth. So if you can be on your computers today, I would highly recommend it. I think it'll help you. But if not, that's okay too. So if you want to make an appointment with me, you'll go down to instructor office hour links. I'm right here, Professor Woodruff. That's me. I don't remember if I said my name already, but I'm Professor Woodruff. I'll be doing the class this semester, this class. Dr. A, she is our tutor, as well as our student success coordinator. So if you would like to make an appointment with her, you are more than welcome to do that. She's great. So yeah, sometimes you just need to like meet with somebody other than me to like have it explained differently. I'm perfectly cool with that. Dr. A is fantastic. So you can make appointments with either of us using those links. If you guys need to email me, I did send out an email on Monday with the PDFs. That is the PDF for the guided notes packets. That is the correct email to use for me. This is my email. I'll type it in chat for you guys as well. But so just a little bit about me. I did my undergrad in bio in psych at University of Richmond down in Virginia. I then went to Penn State. I was doing my PhD in neuroscience, but then COVID hit, so my research got suspended. I really hated doing publications, so I just took my master's and left. Once I left Penn State, I was working at NYU for a couple of years in their neuroscience department as a research assistant, where basically I trained monkeys to play video games and we started doing neural recordings on them. So I got to be a part of all the surgeries and whatnot, which was really cool. So I was like, oh, I want to do that. So I went to medical school for about a year and a half. Had my daughter down there in Grenada, and having a baby in med school is not something I recommend, especially not in the Caribbean. So we ended up coming back to the States, and I've been teaching at ATS pretty much ever since. So just a little bit about me. Basically, this is all to say I know a lot about anatomy and physiology, but I am not a nurse. So if you have NCLEX specific questions, I am not your go-to. But I can help you with all things anatomy and physiology. All right, our first MCQ used to measure participation throughout. All you have to do is click directly onto the screen. All right, so I'm going to leave this up for a minute or two so you guys can read it, click in, but make sure you click in. We'll talk about how MCQs count towards participation when we start going through the syllabus, but they do matter. Yeah, sorry that you couldn't hear me. I will be sending the PowerPoints out. So I send out weekly emails on Fridays. I usually send the PowerPoints after we have covered the chapter because I like people to take notes. And if I send the PowerPoints ahead of time, what I find is that nobody takes the notes. So I usually send PowerPoints after. Now I know you guys don't have your textbook yet. I literally just got the codes 10 minutes ago for the whole class, and I teach from 9 a.m. today till 9 p.m. So I should be sending them all out to you guys tomorrow morning. So, sorry, we are a little rambunctious right now. But, so at some point in my life, I felt that a healthcare professional, i.e. a doctor, a nurse, something, didn't know what they were doing, didn't care about my well-being, or was just plain disrespectful to a family member or myself, right? A lot of people have encountered this. Now, the reason why I bring this up, right? You don't want to be the person that somebody's talking about in 10 years, like, oh, we had this nurse when my mom was in hospice who did this, right? You do not want to be somebody's healthcare horror story. So, one thing that somebody told me when I first started college, my freshman year chemistry professor, that I always share, students are the only consumer who are happy when they get less than what they paid for. You guys are paying a lot of money to be here, right? You are paying thousands of dollars to come to this school, not just for this class, but all of your classes. Okay? You're not just paying for a grade, you are learning how to be a nurse. So, yes, you need to know all of this information to pass your NCLEX. So, I'm going to work with you guys on, right? But beyond knowing the information about your NCLEX, you need to know things like how to conduct yourself in a professional manner, how to be able to communicate with both doctors, other nurses, patients, their families, right, in a professional way. Conflict resolution in a professional manner, making sure that you're showing up to appointments on time. If you go to a job interview 30 minutes late, you're not going to get that job, right? So these are all skills that you're going to develop during nursing school, beyond just the knowledge that you should be acquiring here, okay? You are paying a lot of money to learn how to be a nurse, and that doesn't just mean you're paying for an A. So don't go into it with that mentality, okay? With that being said, you are paying a lot of money for this, so you should be taking advantage of the resources that we give you. So reaching out to the tutor, reaching out to me. I'm available during office hours, you know? Don't wait until after you failed the test to go over the materials. Okay? Take advantage of the resources you have here. But yeah. So basically, you guys should care more about your grade than I do. Right? Like I want every single one of you to pass, don't get me wrong. Like I care very much about my students passing. I will do everything I can to help you guys pass, but you gotta meet me halfway. So I like to start out my class with that little discussion on day one. So we're gonna start by going through the syllabus. Where's the little button? Share screen. Okay, so if we go into Panopen, sorry. If we go onto Brightspace, we're going to go to Content. We're going to scroll down to this course syllabus, policies, and documents tab. Okay, and then you scroll down from here. We're going to go all the way to the bottom to this syllabus, and we're going to talk through the syllabus. Now, a lot of the questions you have can be answered in the syllabus. The syllabus is really important. Okay, so starting with credit hours, you'll notice you have 5.5 semester credits for this class. We only meet for, I'll type it in chat so that you guys can do it. Brightspace, content, course syllabus, documents. You're gonna I don't remember like the full title, but I know it's like syllabus something docx. It's the last document on that page. Okay. So we're going to go through the syllabus and like we'll kind of jump around a little bit as we're going through it to show you what all the different things mean. But where did I go? There we go. All right. So you'll notice there are 5.5 semester credit hours. We only meet for 5 hours, right? The rest of that time is devoted to your medical terminology. All right. So you should be doing medical terminology asynchronously. We will talk about it in a little bit, how we're going to do that. But that's why it's 5.5 press credits, not 5. And we only meet for 5. These are going to be the faculty. We don't have a course lead for this class. Dr. A is our student success coordinator and our tutor. This is my 3rd semester teaching here. The other 3 instructors are all new instructors. So I would use Dr. A and I as your like first line of question if you have questions. Obviously, like people are hired for their knowledge. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna know like the anatomy knowledge. But if you have questions about like assignments or anything like that, I'm your first, obviously, hopefully. But if you need to talk to somebody else, Dr. A is also a great resource. Okay, office hours will be listed in Brightspace, aka on our Calendly links. Tutoring. If you guys need tutoring, Dr. A is available. I am available. You are more than welcome to schedule with me, schedule with her, all of that. Textbooks. We have our FA Davis textbooks. I'm going to be sending you guys your access codes. Like I said, hopefully tomorrow morning. I just taught them and I teach until 9 tonight. So I'll send them to you tomorrow morning. Try and redeem your access code over the weekend. If you can't do it, we will go over it together on Monday when we are in class together. Okay. Outside preparation. So yes, we do have that time devoted to medical terminology. However, with that being said, you still need to devote a significant amount of time to like studying and doing homework, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so make sure that you anticipate having that time set aside for yourself to study every single week, preferably every day, but I know that sometimes it's not realistic with work and kids and all of that stuff. Okay. Let me see, methods of instruction. Okay, requirements for successful course completion. 78%. You need to have 78% in both testing and non-testing. Okay. We're going to come back to this when we talk about the breakdown. But basically what this means is if you are a stellar test taker, right, you get 100% on every single exam. That is fantastic. Do not get me wrong. However, you cannot not come to class. All right. If you get 100% in your testing and you have not attended a single class, you will fail the class. All right. So you need to get 78% in both testing as well as non-testing. Okay, and we'll talk about the breakdown of those in a minute. But let's see. Participation and attendance. You are expected to attend every class on campus or online, depending on which day it is, as scheduled. If it is scheduled to be online, you are expected to be online. If it is expected to be in person, you are expected to be in person. There is no like signing in on Engagely on Mondays when we're supposed to be in person and not counting. It doesn't count. You need to be there in person. Okay. Do not drive while you're attending class, please. Multiple choice questions. So throughout the lecture, we use multiple choice questions. You are expected to answer at least 80% of those multiple choice questions. Okay. That last 20% is for like, if you get up to use the bathroom or your computer dies or something like that. Okay. So it is to make sure that you guys aren't just like logging into the class and then tuning out. Okay. So it is one way that we measure participation. I also use it to gauge whether or not you guys are understanding the material. So the more that you try for the questions, the better I get an idea of if everybody's like getting the concept or not, right? Like if I see everybody's getting the correct answer, cool, we all understand. We give them fun. If everybody has a different answer for it, then it's kind of like, well, maybe we need to go back through this. Now, if we have in person, or if class gets missed, okay? If you miss a class, something happens. So if you miss a class for some reason, all right, we're not doing like penalties. Okay, we are not gonna like do size kind of a tantrum right now. We are not gonna like take away points if you miss like 3 classes. Okay. What happens is you just can't make up that participation point. So participation is going to be worth a significant amount of your grade. If you miss the class, you get a 0 for that participation, unless it's an excused absence, which we'll talk about. So if you miss the class, you miss the participation point, it counts against you in that way. But we don't do like point penalties, if that makes sense. Okay. I don't know what the exact number of classes that you can miss before it's like bad for your grade, but like just be in class. You only have to go to class 1 day a week, you know? I mean, you have to be like online 2 days, like one other day, but like physically, there's 1 day you have to be there. I would just show up. Okay. The other thing about participation online, I don't have you guys sign in chat when you come in. Okay, you do not have to worry about signing in chat. The reason why I say that, because I have so many people that will log in on time to like the class, and then they forget to type their name in chat. Right? I don't think it's fair for somebody that showed up on time and forgot to put their name in chat to be marked as late, as opposed to somebody else that can log in at exactly 11:30, sign their name in chat, and then dip out, right? Like they just leave class for the rest of class. So what I do is I look at the total amount of time you are in class to make sure that you are in class for the full period. Okay. Now, if we have class for 2 hours and 20 minutes, I get it. Computers die. You get like internet outages where you have to log out and log back in. That's fine, right? If you're like out of class for 10 minutes, I'm not going to mark you as late. I'm not going to mark you as absent. If you are only in class for a half an hour, that's an absence. Okay. You haven't been in class. All right. If you're like, I think I usually do. So since it's going to be a 2 hours and 20-minute long class, it's if you're in class for those 2 hours. Yeah, you don't have to sign in your name in chat. That's what we were just talking about. Yeah, also, just as a side note, Engagely sends weird things about like being inappropriate sometimes. I don't know why. I can't control it. So I apologize in advance. If this is your first class at ATS, you'll see Engagely is sometimes weird. But what was I saying? Yeah, I expect you to be in class for at least 2 hours. Okay. So that's why I don't take attendance on the day of class, because it needs to like produce those stats for me to look at. But just make sure you're in class for at least the 2 hours. You're good. Don't worry about typing your name in chat. Going forward as well. Okay. Now, if you do have an excused absence, so if you have to go to the ER or something like that, you can make up participation. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay, breakdown of grading. So starting with non-testing. Like I told you, participation is worth 75% of your non-testing. Okay, so you want to be clicking into those MCQs when we're in online classes. All right, you want to make sure that you are in class for those 2 hours. If you're marked late, it's a 1/4 point deduction. The other thing I look at if you have speak time or chat time. So a lot of the time throughout my PowerPoints, I'll be like, I don't know. Oh, what kind of fluid or what kind of waste does the urinary system get rid of? Fluids or solids, right? That's just an example I used in my last class. All right. If somebody answers fluids and they unmute and they are super fast on that unmuting bar and they're like, I got this, right? That's fine. I get it. Not everybody wants to unmute themselves in front of the whole class. I don't have a problem with that. I do still expect you to participate. So you can type in chat. You don't need to be the first person to type in chat. You still have to type in chat. Okay? I'm perfectly okay with that. Like, I'm not going to ask probably 40 questions throughout the PowerPoint. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't have time for that. So if you respond to the same question somebody else does, that's fine. I just expect you guys to be engaging while you're in online class. Now, in-person class, I expect you to be there on time. I expect you not to be disruptive. So like not putting your headphones on or like playing music or stuff like that. Okay. Like you're in person. I expect you to be there and be active. That should go without saying. But so that is what I mean by participation. Now, course project is worth 5% of your grade. So let's talk about course projects. Now, if we go to our Brightspace, we're going to go to content, and we're going to scroll down to course project here. Okay, so course project on the left. The first thing I'm going to open is going to be this docx. Okay. So this document is going to have all of your topic selections, all of your outline, everything that you need to know about it. Okay. So let me type this out. Okay, so this is the document that we're looking at right now. So you will see the point is for you guys to do like a short presentation on one of the body systems. Okay, these roughly, excuse me. All right. So these will roughly line up with like the weeks that we're covering that topic. Now, something like the endocrine system and the reproductive systems, we don't really cover in depth in this class. They're more for PanOpen. So those are kind of just thrown in there. But the rest of them line up roughly with the week that we teach that topic. All right. So what this means is you are going to pick your top 3 choices for topics. And I'll tell you how to do that in a minute. All right. Take into account what week those are due. So, for example, my birthday is October 5th, okay? I probably do not want to be doing a presentation on the skeletal system on my birthday. Just like, I don't know, it's not my ideal birthday. So, I'm not going to pick the skeletal system. I will not list that. Take that into account when you guys are doing your presentation selections, okay? Now, the way that you're going to go through and do it, you look at your topics, you say, you know what, I want to do respiratory system or the nervous system or the reproductive system, whatever it may be, okay? You will go to, let me just pull up a different tab, make life easy. So once you kind of like narrowed down what you want to do, okay, you're going to click on this first link here, the course project topic selection form in that same course project thing. So I'll type it in chat for you. Oh, thank you. So course project topic selection form. I don't know why mine isn't working. Apparently it is working for, oh wait, because I'm in summer again. Sick. Okay, hold on. Okay, so you will see this, okay? You're gonna fill this out. Your section, you guys are DFB. Make sure you have the right section when you fill this form out. Okay. Yeah, I just clicked on the wrong link. It works for me too. I'm just being silly. So you're going to click DFB for your section. Make sure you have your section. There are 500 something students. I am not going to filter through for everybody. All right. So these are going to be the different systems. You'll pick your top 3 choices. Okay. It is first come, first serve. I will go through and try and fill out so that everybody gets one of their first 3 choices. And then next week, I will have a spreadsheet that says you're doing this topic, which will be due this week. Okay. So fill this out by the end of the week. You can fill it out right now if you want to. It should take you about a minute or 2. Okay. Now, if you are like, I really could care less about what I present on, that is perfectly okay. You don't have to fill this out. It's not going to be penalized if you don't fill it out. Okay. All that's going to happen is I'm randomly going to assign you a topic. So you can't like get out of doing the course project by like just not doing the topic selection form. You'll still be assigned something. But if you don't end up filling it out, I will randomly assign you one. Now, when you go to do your course project, you're going to scroll all the way to the bottom of this page, and you will see your project outline here. Okay. All you need to do is make like one slide for each of these things. It's really easy. Truly. It's like usually like a grade booster. As long as you've gone through and done all these things, you're good. All right. Now, with that being said, do not use ChatGPT to do this. I caught multiple students last semester doing it. There are very easy tells when you are using ChatGPT. I know what their PowerPoints look like. Don't use ChatGPT. It is a very easy assignment. Don't get an AI violation for using ChatGPT for this. Okay. Yeah. So that is your course project. It is worth 5% of your grade. Answer these really quickly. All right. Homework. So the homework is going to be worth 10%. So the easiest way I think to access your homework, if you go to content, or wait, sorry, not content, I lied. You go to evaluate. Under evaluate, you're going to scroll down to quizzes. Okay. You have a quiz list showing up of available quizzes. So now, homework quizzes normally are going to be open from Sunday to Sunday, meaning that they will be due Sunday night and they are going to open up the Sunday before they are due. This week's quiz is not going to be due until next Sunday because all of my classes didn't meet Monday. So we will not finish chapter 1 until next week. Okay. So this is like the special case of you'll have 2 weeks to do this quiz. Now, with homework quizzes, when you go to complete them, all you got to do, click on this, okay? And it's all going to pop up, and then you'll see like a little start button down here that I don't have. It says start quiz. Something really important to note, so don't do it right now. You have a 20-minute time limit on it. Yes, there'll be there'll be 2 due next week, and then 1 is actually going to be due on the Tuesday after. So chapters 1 and 2 due next Sunday, Now, do not open the quizzes before you are ready to do them. So, what I mean by that, if you are like cooking dinner or something, right? And you're like, you know what? I'll just start my homework now. It's cool, right? You open up your homework and you're like, I got 20 minutes for this pasta pot to finish or whatever it is. And that pasta pot catches on fire. And you're like, oh no, I gotta stop doing my homework so I can like keep my house from burning down. Totally fair, right? We can't reopen the homework quiz. It's not allowed. We don't reopen them for any reason. Do not start your homework until you are completely free of distractions. All right. Now, if you miss a homework, because you have a whole week to do it, right? Like you have that time to do it. You don't need to wait until Sunday night at 11:50 to do it. Don't wait till Sunday night at 11:50 to do it, honestly. But you have time to do it, so we do not reopen it. Just go to this link. Okay. So don't wait till Sunday to do it. Don't open it and then expect to be able to close out of it and go back to it. It'll just automatically get submitted. So I personally send out an email every week. I don't know if the other instructors do as well, but I send out an email every Friday. And at the top of the email on Friday, it says assignments due this week. So make sure you read my emails. I say it every semester. I don't send a lot of emails throughout the week for this reason. I don't want to overwhelm your guys' inbox, but the emails that I do send have all my PowerPoints. They have links to my YouTube video, which has like the recording for the lecture if you don't want to go through Engagely. It has like games that you can use for review. It has all of the important stuff. So, but the very top of it says assignments due this week. So I try to help y'all out, but okay. So don't start your homework until you're ready to complete it. Each homework assignment individually isn't like worth a ton, but if you miss a bunch of them, it's not good, right? So don't miss a bunch of homeworks. Okay, next thing is medical terminology. So the PANOPEN. Okay, so medical terminology. So only the week one quiz and go over week one, chapter one. Week one quiz is not, yeah, so the 14th. So this week, all that's due is going to be your course project topic selection form because we're not going to finish chapter one today. Raven, come here. Okay. So just your course project topic selection form is due this week. So let's see what's next. Medical terminology. So your PANOPEN. Now, with PANOPEN, I'm nervous because like I got told that some other like, okay, we'll just see how it goes, I guess. So to do medical terminology, you're going to use this thing called PANOPEN. So we're going to register for PANOPEN. Hopefully it works. It didn't go super well in my last class. So we're going to try it. And if it's unsuccessful, we'll like reconvene on Monday. But you're going to click on content, then to medical PANOPEN medical terminology tab on the left. And you're going to click that first link, and it is going to open up something that looks like this, the bottom left one. And once you're done, just click on this QR code so I can get an idea of like where you guys are at. Also, normally I'll have my camera on. My camera's just not working today. I don't know if I mentioned that to you guys. I know I mentioned it to my first class, but Okay, cool. So I'm getting like a third of you guys. So I'm gonna type it in the chat and then I'm gonna go on to the next slide. Yep, that's the next step. So once you've gotten to this medical terminology page, okay, you're gonna click on that like blue student registration link, okay? You're gonna fill out this sign up page and then you close out of it. Even if you are a repeater, just like you are repeating bio, you need to repeat your PanOpen. So you need to re-register for the class. It should be direct. It's not like on the QR code as anymore. Now it just shows up as like a, yeah, confirm enrollment. Now it just shows up as like a box to click. Okay. So once you have like done the sign up and registration page and all that, right? You're going to click out of that sign up page. Just exit out of it. Okay. Now, when you go back in, okay, you're going to go back to your Brightspace page. You should be able to click on any of these other links, okay? And it'll take you to the PanOpen page. It should take it to you directly. I forgot my password and I logged out and now I have to like reset it and it keeps like not sending me the reset link. So I can't show you what PanOpen looks like right now. Hopefully I will have it set up for Monday so I can show you guys then. But yeah, today has not been my most technologically advanced day. I will say that. So usually I'm pretty good at this stuff, but today just nothing seems to be working out well. So, but we're gonna make it work. It's gonna be great. Okay, so that is your PanOpen. Now for PanOpen, we don't grade it. So we don't grade it on like the assignments themselves. Okay. What we grade is the hours you put in. Okay. What I mean by that is you log into PanOpen, you work through it, you should be doing about an hour a week. Okay. You do not need to submit anything for these check-in assignments. All we do is go on, so all you need to do is log in, go through PanOpen, work through the assignments on there, quiz yourself, watch the videos. You'll see there's a bunch of stuff on there. It's pretty cool. I like PanOpen. And we go in and we look to make sure you are putting that time in. Okay, so it's basically study time that you get credit for, truly. Now, we don't want you guys just like logging in and like leaving the tab open so that you get credit for the time, right? You guys need to be like doing the material. So what we have is a PanOpen quiz on the same day as So you have a pan open quiz on the same day as your other exams. Okay. So you'll have your 50 question exam, and then you have a 10 question pan open quiz after that, same day as the exam. Those quizzes add up to be about 10% total. So they're each worth about 3% ish. Okay. For your testing, those quizzes specifically. Now, each of your exams is worth 20%. This is really, really, really important. So if you hear nothing else I say today, listen to me when I say this. Do not miss an exam. And if you're sitting there and you're like, no, well, like, duh, like, of course I'm not going to miss an exam. Do not miss an exam. Do not get a 0 for an exam for having your phone out. Do not miss an exam. Do not email me the day of the exam and say, my phone died, so I can't call a Lyft. Like, I don't know. I've heard don't miss exams, because if you miss an exam, you get a 0 for 20% of that exam, and then you also get a 0 for your pan open quiz. Okay? Unless there's an extenuating circumstance, meaning that your train breaks down and you have documentation that your train broke down. You are in the emergency room. Your car breaks down and you have documentation that your car broke down. Stuff like that is an extenuating circumstance. Having a doctor's appointment, that is not an extenuating circumstance. Okay? If you miss that pan open quiz and that exam and you get a 0 for both, the maximum you can have in the class now is a 77% in testing, which means you will fail the class. Okay? If you get caught with your phone out, even if you have finished 49 out of the 50 questions and you just got caught out with your phone out to like silence it, you get a 0 for the exam, you get a 0 for the pan open quiz, which means you have a maximum of 77%. I had one student last semester, it really sucked because she had like a 95% in her testing grade. Her phone like died the day of the exam and she didn't call. She sent me an email and said like, I can't call a cab. And I was like, why can't you take the train? And she just never responded. And she failed the class because she couldn't take the train. I don't know why she couldn't take the train, but regardless, like if your phone dies and you can't call a cab, that is not an excused absence. Okay, that is something within your control. Do not miss exams. All right, we do have makeups in the cases of extenuating circumstances with documentation, but there's only one of those offered throughout the thing. Like the whole policy is in the student handbook. Just don't miss exams and don't get caught with your phone. Well, don't have your phone out, but like, I didn't have any students get caught with their phones out last semester, which was awesome. I would like to keep that. So, and especially don't miss the final. The finals were 30%. Okay. Make sure you show up on time and in uniform to your exams. Deaths. So death in immediate family. So spouse, parent, sibling, dependent. This does not include grandparents. Okay. You'll notice a lot of grandparents die around exam times. We are going to save all of the grandparents. Grandparents do not count. It's sad, but because it gets taken advantage of so much, we have to include this. Okay. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for the syllabus. Okay. Now, classroom etiquette. When you are in class, you need to be in dress code, meaning that you have your uniform, you have your ID on, professional appearance. So like the nails were a big one last semester. They literally like came around in class and told people to like cut their nails in class. So please, please, please just be in uniform. I don't have any interest in being the bad guy. So like, just show up in uniform and we're all good. Yeah. Okay. Don't use ChatGPT to make your PowerPoints. It's pretty much the only thing that you need ChatGPT for. Well, like not need, but that you could use ChatGPT for in this class. Don't do it. Okay. Let's see. So that is going to be your Pan Open stuff. The syllabus, exam policies we talked about. F.A. Davis book, I'm going to send the codes to you guys and try to redeem them over the weekend on your own, because I don't want to try and like show you how to do it now because you don't have the codes. If anything comes up, we'll just go over how to do it on Monday when we meet. Okay. General expectations. If you're confused about something, please ask. Okay. I am more than happy to answer questions. If you have a question on something, chances are somebody also does too, right? Like if you're confused about something, you're probably not the only one. And if you don't want to ask in class, that's cool. Just send me an email. I'm down. Right? If something's not conducive to your learning, don't wait until the end of the semester to tell me. So, for example, I always use the example of this student I had in Penn State who like didn't tell me. So apparently he was colorblind, and he did not tell me until like his first quiz that he couldn't read my slides. So like he missed like the first 3 weeks of material. And yeah, so don't wait until then to tell me that you can't read it or something. All right? Tell me ahead of time. Respect goes both ways. This is a big thing for me, okay? I will treat you with respect. I expect the same. Do not, like, no profanity, like, attitude, positive, always, okay? I don't want to hear this is stupid or, like, any, like, swearing, none of that, okay? The benefit of emails. I talk about this all the time. The benefit of emails, you can type something out and you don't have to send it, you know? Like sometimes you just need to type out something really angry because you're heated about something. That's cool. I've definitely done that before. Don't hit the send button. Come back to it, all right? Walk away from your computer for an hour. Maybe just come back to it in the morning, whatever you gotta do. Don't send an email when you're angry, okay? Take a breath. Beautiful thing about emails. You don't have to send them. Oh. I luckily have not run into a lot of issues with this. I know other instructors that have, so I'm just gonna say it now. When is chapter 1 packet due? I don't check the packets. We're gonna talk about that in a minute. But yeah, I don't check the packets unless you're making up participation. Yes, section is DFB. For studying, I recommend you guys make your own study guides. Now, I give you those guided note packets, which I sent out. I typically print them out for you guys, just because I think it goes better when you guys have them physically in front of you to take notes in class. Just because we didn't meet in person this week, I didn't have a chance to print them out and give them to you guys. But next week, I will have chapters 2 and 3 printed out for you guys, so that you have those ahead of time. Usually I will have the packets for you guys ahead of time. Make sure you are drawing things out. I put a lot of pictures in throughout the packets so that you guys can draw them out. But it also helps to like make your own doodles. I don't know. Textbook resources we will talk about on Monday. Let's see. YouTube and Google. These can be very good resources, but a lot of the time the information is going to be way more in depth than you need to know, and sometimes it can be inaccurate. So be careful with that. Don't use ChatGPT. Rely on each other. So make study groups, WhatsApp groups, group chats. Great. Fantastic, right? You guys are not just going to be in this class together. You are going to have a lot of overlap between your classes. You might as well get to know each other now. Okay? You never know. So obviously you can hear, I have a young daughter, right? I wake up super early. I am up at like 5:36 every morning, which means I am not going to be up at midnight on a Sunday night right before your assignment is due, waiting to see if you guys need help. Okay? I'll keep my phone on me throughout the day, don't get me wrong, and I'll try to answer as quickly as I can. But if you're emailing me 10 minutes before your assignment's due, I'm not going to be conscious to help you out. You know what I mean? But there's chances that some of your like classmates might. So they might be able to help you out. Okay? So make study groups, make group chats, do all the things. If you're ever wondering what's going to be on the test, look at the learning objectives. I typed them out at the beginning of each of the packets. So they're there. Okay, we are going to go ahead and take a 10-minute break. I will set a timer up. If you guys have questions that come up during break, you can type them in the chat and I will be right back to answer them when we come back from break. But yeah, it's a good chance to like, I don't know, get a snack, do whatever you got to do. All right, I'll see you guys in 10 minutes. Let me set up the timer. Oh, okay. All right, cool. I'll see you guys in 10 minutes. Cool. So I like to use the timers on Engagely, so there usually shows you how much time you have left on break. Where did I put my code? Hold on. I at least stole my mouse pad. There it is. Okay, so we are going to start chapter 1 today. I will forewarn you, we are not going to finish it. So the reason why chapter 1 is not going to be due until next week is because none of my classes met on Monday. So at least 4 sections, because Labor Day, at least 4 sections are going to be a little bit behind. Oh, I forgot to show you guys the course schedule. I'm so sorry. I was like, wait a minute, I know I'm forgetting something. That's why. Okay. So real quick, under the same tab as the syllabus, so you're going to go to content, course syllabus, policies and documents, course schedule. Okay. This is going to show you a breakdown of day by day what we are doing. You can see highlighted here what's going to be due each Sunday. Like I said, I'm going to be like sending you with my weekly emails what's due that week. Okay. You'll notice your first exam is in week 3. Now, I'm still waiting on confirmation from Gina on the exam days. I believe these are what we are going with, but for now, your first exam is in week 3. All right. So we did not meet day 1, week 1, right? So we are a little bit behind the other classes. I think we'll be able to make it up next week. So my plan is start chapter 1 today, finish chapter 1 and do chapter 2 on day 1 of next week, so Monday, and then we'll do chapter 3 on Thursday, which will still leave us a whole day for review before the exam. Now, if that doesn't happen and we cannot finish chapter 3 on day 2, I will send you guys a recording to finish up chapter 3 on your own, and we will still have a full day of review before the exam. Because especially for exam 1, we want to make sure that like I have the opportunity to go through those questions with you guys. Okay. So if we are running a little bit behind and we don't finish up chapter 3 next week or next Thursday, don't worry. There'll be a recording posted so you guys can finish it up on your own. I'm pretty sure we'll be able to finish it because we like trimmed out a lot of chemistry. So the chemistry should be pretty quick. So, but you can see here when everything is due. So this is really handy. Like I said, it might, the exam time days might change. I'm hoping that they don't, but we'll see. Can you save this meeting when you end it? I forgot to put my achievement material. Yeah, it'll automatically get saved. Like the recording automatically gets saved. So if you guys want to access the recording after class, like the same way that you logged into class, right? Where when you came into class, there was the option to like join live class or go to the playback room. If you click go to the playback room, that'll take you to where all the recordings for the class are. Okay, so you can watch it that way. Or like I said, I send out a YouTube link if yours just happens to be not the class that I do the in-person recording with. So, okay, so we're going to start chapter 1. Now, the class is called Anatomy and Physiology, right? So we cover both anatomy and physiology. They mean 2 different things. So anatomy is going to be the study of the structures of the body, whereas physiology is function. Okay, so PH sounds like the F sound, function, physiology, function. Okay, and then anatomy is the other one, if that helps. So if you think about it like a building, right? The anatomy, you were talking about the structure of the building. It is a big gray building. Okay, big gray stone building. Okay. Physiology, you're talking about what that building's purpose is. So that big gray stone building, it is a post office. The whole point of the post office is to ship packages. It does this by having delivery trucks arrive and take the packages away and drive away. That is that physiology, is the function of that building. Okay, but when you were talking about the big gray stone building, that is the anatomy. So putting this into the body, okay? Anatomy is going to be the structure and the components of the heart. So if you're talking about the four chambers of the heart, the muscles, whatever that might be, okay, that is the anatomy of the heart. The physiology is talking about how it's going to pump blood through the body. So the blood is coming in through this chamber and leaving through this chamber. The muscles are contracting due to stimulation from this node or whatever it might be, okay? So anatomy, structures of the body, physiology, functions. Okay. And I know we go a little fast in this class, but always remember you can always come back to the recordings if you need more time. And also, like, the lucky thing for you guys is you have me as your instructor. Just kidding. Well, yeah, I write the packets. Okay, so the packets are pretty closely aligned with my PowerPoints, is what I'm trying to say. All right, so it's pretty lucky because it helps line everything up for you. The example, go back to this. Structure / components of the heart versus how it pumps blood through the body. PowerPoint's not up yet. I send the PowerPoints out weekly. Okay. Now, organization of the body. Your body is organized in a hierarchy, meaning it goes from smallest to largest. Okay. So, starting with atoms. Atoms are going to be the smallest thing in general. Okay. We will talk about atoms quite a bit when we get to chemistry. But atoms are going to join together to form molecules. Okay. So, for example, hydrogen is an atom. Hydrogen and oxygen come together to form water, right? So H2O. Okay. Water is a molecule. Molecules are going to come together to form organelles. Organelles, if you look at the word, it literally means little organs. Okay. So organelles are little structures inside of cells that have their own function. So they each do their own thing. So for example, this is showing a mitochondria. The mitochondria is responsible for producing energy, which we will learn about in chapter 3. Actually move really quickly so I'm not sitting right outside of her door getting watched here. So she's going to put me stay. Okay. So organelles are going to be found inside of your cells. Your cells are going to be the smallest unit of living thing. Now, you guys don't need to know why they're considered living versus why atoms aren't considered living. That goes into like cell theory and a whole bunch of stuff that is beyond the scope of this class. Okay? I want you guys just to know purely that atoms are the smallest thing, cells are the smallest living things. Okay? Cells are going to come together to form tissues. Tissues are just like groups of cells. All right. So if you think of like muscle tissue is just a bunch of muscle cells together. Okay. Now, these tissues combine to form organs. Organs are a specific structure that has a like specific purpose. So if you think of something like the stomach, okay, the stomach, as we're going to talk about, has a bunch of different layers of tissue. So it has muscle tissue, like a couple different layers of muscle tissue. It has endothelial tissue. It has a whole bunch of different types of tissue that are layered together to make the stomach. Okay. And the stomach is going to be responsible for processes like chemical and mechanical digestion. All right. Now, multiple organs are going to come together to form organ systems. So while the stomach is responsible for part of digestion, right? The digestive system is going to be composed of your stomach, your small intestines, your large intestines, your liver, your esophagus, a whole bunch of different things, each of which are going to have some sort of contribution to digestion. All right. So they are all serving, or they are all going towards that goal of getting those nutrients into your bloodstream. And a bunch of organ systems together are going to come together to form the human organism, or the human being. Okay. So that is your hierarchy. You should put a star next to cells because those are your smallest living units. Oh, for your packets, something I forgot to point out. If you are a repeater, I would recommend filling out the packet again. I know that they're similar, especially chapter 1. Chapter 1 is very similar to last semester's, but something different that we are working with the funds team on is like integrating the information. So like it's still the same information. Some things we've added, some things we've taken away. But what like I'm doing is adding to the front of your packet some like direct fundamentals material linkage. So like putting into context how the A and P material links in. Okay. So even if you have these notes from last semester, like a lot of this stuff is the same, but like something like this is new, right? So stuff like that. Okay. I sent the packet out on Monday through email. There's also like the packets on Brightspace. They're like as assignments. I will never check your guys' packets. The only time I check them is if you ask me to, like if we're in tutoring and you're like, I'm not sure about this, or like, can we go through this again? I'm more than happy to go through that with you. Or if you're making up participation for an excused absence. Otherwise, you can do with the packets what you want. Like if you don't want to use them, you don't have to. I just think that they're like helpful because they help direct you to like what the main points are. And it like saves time on taking notes and saves your hand. So Layla?
So I didn't get the packet because they changed my email. They gave me somebody else's email. So how would I get access to that?
Oh, nice. Okay. So if you go here, I can just show you on Brightspace. Let's see. Okay, so if you go into Brightspace and you go into evaluate assignments. Or wait, actually, sorry, there's an easier way to do this. I lied. Go to content, and then you're going to scroll down to week 1. Pre-class work. So this will be for every week. And then your student packet is right here. So I'll type that in chat as well.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I typically print the packets out for you guys, like I said. But because we didn't meet in person first, I'll print out some copies of the packet for Monday so that like if you haven't had a chance to print them out, you get them. But I'll have chapter 2 and 3 printed out for sure. Okay, so this is all that just written out in text. You guys will be able to review that in the PowerPoint. All right, our first real MCQ. So just click directly onto the slide. I'll give you guys like a minute, and then I'm gonna call out whoever hasn't clicked because we're all new. So just in case you think you clicked and you didn't, now you'll be able to know. Okay, so let's see. Sierra Bell, Jaden Winters, Jayla Winters, Jessica King, um, Precious Logan. Okay, those are the people that I have that didn't click in. Okay, so studying the structure is considered anatomy, right? Physiology, function. It'll just be like directly on the screen. The only reason I called you guys out by name is so that way, like, next one you'll get it. I have faith in you. You'll see, like, I have a couple more coming up too. So you just click directly on the screen. So physiology, function, anatomy, structure. It should be your like mantra. All right. Histology, you don't need to know histology. That is the study of cells. Okay. So let's try again. So Jayla, you should be able to just like click directly on the screen. There should be like a box that shows up for you. Well, it should be like 4 boxes right now, but okay. Do like 15 more seconds. And also, just so you guys see, somebody's trying to organize a like study group in the chat. So if you're interested and you just missed the message, there's an opportunity there. Thank you for trying to organize that. All right. So yeah, the smallest living units are going to be cells. Okay. The smallest things in general, those are going to be atoms. Now, there's a whole bunch of different organ systems, okay? I do not expect you guys to like immediately become experts on every single system, right? If you look up like something like the nervous system, I guess the nervous system isn't really a good example. I don't know. If you look up like the integumentary system, right? Because that's gonna be the first one we talk about. It's gonna have like different layers of the skin, different structure of the hair follicle, different parts of the nails, all that kind of stuff. Okay. I don't expect you guys to know that for exam one. What I do want you guys to know is what is on the slides. So when you're studying, worry about what's on the slides. Or like if I tell you, I'll point it out when we get there. Okay. Just very simple. So integumentary system. Your integumentary system is going to consist of your skin, your hair, and your nails. Okay. If you want, what you can do is just set up like a Google Meet and then like send the link in chat so that way everybody doesn't have to send their phone numbers if you want. Like if you just set up like a Google meeting, if that makes sense. Yeah. I'm trying to think of how to help you out because I know that there's like a lot. But yeah, I think that'll be the easiest thing if you guys want to do like a Google Meet after. So no, you're fine. It's day one. I want you guys to set up study groups. I'm just trying to help you like how to do it efficiently. I don't know. You can also send like DMs to each other if you see like I saw like there were two students that were like, oh, I want to do it later. Like you guys can link up, you guys can send each other messages and stuff. But anyways, integumentary system. Plus, it gives people time to write everything down. Integumentary system is going to consist of your skin, your hair, and your nails. This is going to be the first system that we cover as a class. Okay. You are going to have a couple of key functions. So protection, right? Temperature regulation. You don't want all your innards exposed to the outside. So you don't want bacteria to be able to get into your skin. If you have a wound that gets infected and it gets into your blood, it's really bad because you have broken that protective barrier. Okay. Temperature regulation. Okay. When you sweat, right, you're trying to cool your body down. Or, yeah, shivering's more to do with muscles, but never mind. Water retention. You don't want everything to leak out of your body. And then sensation. So, touch. You have nerve endings in your skin. Temperature sensation. Okay. Or temperature sensation. Ugh. Physical sensation. Skeletal system. So your skeletal system is going to consist of your bones, your cartilage, and your ligaments. Okay. Key functions are going to include protection of your body organs, support, movement, blood formation. Okay. So, for example, your rib cage. What organs are inside of your rib cage? Yeah, your lungs and your heart. Exactly. Both really important organs, right? So it makes sense to have that like really nice protective cage around them. What about your skull? What's inside of your skull? Exactly. Your brain, right? Brain is another very, very important organ. Okay. So it makes sense to have like that extra hard protective coating for it. Okay. So protection of body organs. Yeah, the chat is very yeah. Support. Okay. There's like this like Pokemon. I think it's called like Grimer. I don't know if any of you guys know what I'm talking about, but hold on. Yeah, this thing. This is always what I imagine, like if you didn't have bones, you would look like, right? Because you'd just be like a meat sack. Your bones are gonna like hold everything up. Okay. You don't want to look like Grimer. So I don't know why I'm only chat. That's okay. As long as you guys are like typing or like doing what you can to participate, you're good. Movement. So the analogy that I always use, if you like tie a rope to a wooden plank, right? And you're gonna pull on that rope, it's gonna cause the plank to move, right? So in this analogy, your muscles are gonna be that rope. They are gonna be the thing that is doing the pulling. All right. But your bones are going to be the thing that moves. So the bones are going to be the plank. So sometimes you don't think of skeletal system as moving per se, but that is the thing that is actually moving. The muscles are just acting on the skeletal system to move it. And lastly, blood formation. This one always gets missed. Always. Do not forget blood formation. Skeletal system does blood formation. Okay. Skeletal system does blood formation. Everyone always skips that blood formation. Okay. Your blood gets made in your bones. Your muscular system. So, your muscular system is going to consist primarily of what are called skeletal muscles. So, this is what we think of when we look at the like people like that look like this, right? Like the very muscular models that have all of your like pecs and your abs and your quads and your calf muscles. All of those are skeletal muscles, okay? The voluntary muscles. That is what the majority of the muscular system is made of. Now, you also have other types of muscles like cardiac muscles in your heart and smooth muscles in your digestive tract that we are going to talk about later on. But the muscular system is primarily composed of skeletal muscles. All right. Going back to that rope tied to the plank analogy. Okay. Your muscular system is going to be responsible for movement. So that is going to be the thing that's physically moving. Posture. Okay. So posture is going to be like holding the body upright. So you have muscles in your back as well as your abdominals that are keeping your body in an upright position. Heat production. Okay. When you're working out, right? So like you're running or you're like squatting or like, I don't know, whatever you do to work out. Okay. Like I don't really work out, but I can get a mean walk going. Okay. And when I'm walking, like I'm really into it, I start sweating. Okay. Because your muscles are burning off some of that energy. They are producing heat as a byproduct. So heat production is in part due to your muscular system. The other ones I feel like are pretty straightforward. I mean, so is heat production, I guess, if you like really think about it. But lymphatic system. Lymphatic system, we don't go into a lot of detail about in this class. Okay. What I really want you guys to know for lymphatic system, you are talking about immune function. Okay. Fill out the form. But lymphatic system, immune function. Okay. So production of immune cells, defense against disease, does also play a role in fluid balance, but like a lot of things do. So the reason why, so something I always say to you guys, you're going to see a lot of overlap between different things, right? Like you're going to see fluid balance come up a lot. So fluid balance isn't going to like mark the lymph system. You know what I mean? Like that's not going to be your like distinguishing feature. So like, yeah, it's good to know, but like if you're like crunching to learn these things, focus on what differentiates systems. Okay? So focus on what makes one thing different from another. So fluid balance, like lymphatic system, urinary system, cardiovascular system, all of them play a role in fluid balance. Lymphatic system, that is going to be the main one that is responsible for your immune system. So immune function. Consists of lymph nodes, lymphatic vessels, and lymph fluid. The nice thing about the lymphatic system, most of the first few things all have the name lymph in them. Okay, so it's pretty easy. Respiratory system, you're talking about breathing. Okay, so that is going to consist of your nose, your pharynx, your larynx, trachea, bronchi, and lungs. Okay, so nose, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, and lungs. Okay. We talk about the respiratory system. I think it's like the second to last one that we talk about. So it's towards the end of the semester. But basically, the main point of the respiratory system is to bring in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. Okay. Your body, as we are going to learn, needs oxygen to do all of its like metabolic processes. So just to function. Okay. So we need to bring in that oxygen somewhere. And once it uses up that oxygen, it produces carbon dioxide as a byproduct. But we don't want carbon dioxide in our body. Carbon dioxide is bad for us. So what we do is we breathe it out. Okay. So the point of the respiratory system, you breathe in oxygen and you breathe out carbon dioxide. When it does this, it's contributing to an acid-base balance. We are going to talk about acid and bases in chapter 2 quite a bit. So don't worry about that yet. It also contributes to speech. So speech is a result of the air moving through your vocal cords. Okay. So makes sense that the respiratory system has to do with speech. The urinary system. So your urinary system is going to consist of your kidneys, your ureter, your urinary bladder, and your urethra. Now, your urinary system is going to produce urine, right? So your urine is going to be carrying out waste. What kind of waste? Is it fluid waste or solid waste? Fluid, exactly, right? So the urinary system is going to be responsible for getting rid of like fluid wastes. Your digestive system, that's going to be getting rid of the solid waste. Right? Your feces, that's getting rid of really solid waste. Urinary system, fluid waste. Now, with that being said, right, your blood is made up of fluid of some sort. It's a composition, it's a fluid. Okay. So it makes sense that the urinary system is really closely intertwined with your circulatory system. All right. Your urinary system is going to regulate blood volume and blood pressure by controlling the amount of fluid waste that you get rid of. And we're going to talk a lot about this when we get to chapter 19. So don't stress about this right now. I just want to point out why we are talking about blood when we get to the urinary system. So if you know anybody with like high blood pressure, you'll hear them say like water pills or stuff like that, right? What they are doing is taking medications to control the amount of urine that they are producing to either like pee off more fluid or to keep the fluid, right? Another thing, they control fluid, electrolyte, and acid-base balance. Again, a lot of the systems contribute to electrolyte, acid-base balance, okay? So I would focus on fluid wastes, regulation of blood volume and blood pressure. Nervous system, my personal favorite. So the nervous system is going to consist of your brain, your spinal cord, your nerves, and your sense organs. Okay. It is going to be responsible for control, regulation, and coordination of other systems. All right. So, nervous system is like the supervisor. All right. but the nervous system does like electrical control. Okay, so you're getting electrical impulses. You don't really need to know that. It's just that another one of the systems also does control. So I want to like point out the difference between the two. Okay. The nervous system is also going to be responsible for sensation and memory. So like those nerve endings that are in your skin, that's thanks to your nervous system. Memories, those are thanks to your nervous system. Okay. The next system that's going to contribute in a large part to control is going to be your endocrine system. Now, if you hear endocrine system, just think hormones. Okay. Endocrine system, you're talking about hormones. All right. Hormones do control your other body systems like the nervous system does. But the difference is the nervous system has like this rapid control of the body systems. What was the last point on the previous slide? Memory. So your endocrine system, hormonal control. So for example, like testosterone, right? You give someone testosterone for a while, it's going to have long-term implications. Okay. It's not like you give them one shot of testosterone and then like 10 minutes later it's gone. Okay. Endocrine system is a long-term control. The endocrine system is going to have things that say glands, basically. All of these things are different types of glands. So pituitary gland, adrenal glands, pancreas. Well, pancreas is a gland, but it doesn't say pancreas gland. Okay, but your thyroid gland, your parathyroid glands, there are a whole bunch of different organs in your endocrine system. So look for the word gland. Okay. So endocrine system has to do with hormones. Look for the word gland. Those are pointing to the endocrine system. We'll talk about the different ones that you guys need to know as they come up. But circulatory system. Your circulatory system is the same thing as your cardiovascular system. There's like small differences between the two, but like you guys don't need to know them. Okay, so for the purposes of this class, circulatory and cardiovascular systems are the same thing. It is going to consist of your heart, your arteries, your veins, and your capillaries. All right. The whole point of the circulatory system is distribution of oxygen, nutrients, wastes, and hormones, electrolytes, immune cells, antibodies. So they're the highways. They are carrying all of the stuff that you're bringing into your body, that you're making in your body, the waste that you want to get rid of, all of that stuff. Okay. The circulatory system's whole purpose is to get that to where it needs to go. Again, you see fluid, electrolyte, and acid-base balance. That is why I said don't use acid-base balance as you're like, oh, this is definitely talking about the circulatory system, because there's a bunch of systems that contribute to acid-base balance. There's the respiratory system, there's the urinary system, there's the circulatory system, there's I don't know so much about the digestive system, but like there's a lot of them. You know what I mean? So focus on distribution of oxygen, nutrients, waste, hormones, immune cells, and antibodies. Digestive system. The whole point of the digestive system is to take the food that we eat and break it into these like absorbable things called nutrients. Okay? So the digestive system is going to consist of your stomach, your small and large. Yep. So your digestive system is going to consist of your stomach, your small and large intestines, your esophagus, your liver, your mouth, and your pancreas. Okay. It is going to be responsible for breaking that food down into usable components called nutrients. All right. So I just had some mac and cheese for lunch, right? My body obviously needs to take in like the dairy and the calcium and whatever it is from that mac and cheese. So I need to chew up the mac and cheese. My stomach needs to break it down. And all of that goal is to get these microscopic nutrients out of the mac and cheese. Okay. The digestive system is also going to be responsible for the elimination of solid wastes. So once we have taken what we need from the food that we eat, you get rid of the rest. Okay. So elimination of wastes. Okay. Well, all right. I mean, so the systems that you guys selected, just remember, I gotta like go through and like assign them because like we don't want like 20 people on the same system just because it gets overwhelming for grading. But first come, first serve. So like if you submitted it today, there's a very solid chance you'll get your first or second choice. So reproductive systems. Once again, this one is mainly covered in PanOpen more so than anything else, but it's still important to know. Okay. I think it's like the last system you guys cover in your PanOpen. So you have your male system, male reproductive system, and your female reproductive system, right? Because men and women are like males versus females are like they have different reproductive systems. Okay. They serve different purposes. There's different organs, all that. Okay. So male reproductive systems are going to consist of testes, vas deferens, prostate, seminal vesicles, and the penis. All right. The whole point of the male reproductive system, production and delivery of sperm. It is also responsible for the secretion of sex hormones. So things like testosterone. Okay. Females, they have ovaries, fallopian tubes, the uterus, vagina, and breasts. Key functions are going to include production of eggs, site of fertilization, fetal development, birth, lactation, and secretion of sex hormones. Okay. Yeah. Now, like I said, there's sometimes overlap between organs and different organ systems. So for example, right, your urethra in females, it is only part of the urinary system because it only carries urine. Okay. In males, on the other hand, the urethra is part of both the reproductive system as well as the urinary system because it carries urine as well as semen. Okay. So much overlap. Now, this is an example of how we can ask questions about the systems. So we could ask which organ system consists of this, which organ system mainly does this, or we can ask both, or we can ask reverse. Like we can say like, what is the primary component of the muscular system? Or like, what is the primary component of the endocrine system? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Okay. But this is a pretty good example. We are not out to get you guys on exams. Okay. We try to make the questions as straightforward as possible. If you're sitting there and you look at the question and you're like, man, this is so obvious. I know this. Chances are pretty good you do actually know it. Like, for example, a couple semesters ago, we just accidentally didn't crop out the label. We had a picture of the diaphragm on one of our exams. We forgot to crop out the word diaphragm on the picture. And we were like, you know what, whatever, it'll be fine. It's a free question. And like a quarter of the students were like, there's no way, they left that on the exam. I don't believe them. So they chose the wrong answer because they were worried that we were trying to trick them. We are not out to trick you guys, I promise. Okay. The questions will be straightforward as possible. If we're going to try and trick you guys, we're going to do it in class so that we can talk about why the question was hard. Okay. On exams, it will be very straightforward. All right. Let's do like another 10 seconds. Okay. Yeah. So skeletal muscles, muscular system, right? Okay. So next we're going to talk about anatomical terms. So you need to be able to discuss with doctors and other nurses about where something is, right? So knowing these anatomical terms is very important. All right. And plus, if you can break down like if you know something is a superior oblique and something is an inferior oblique, you know one's above the other if you know what superior and inferior mean. Okay. So anatomical terms are very, very important. I feel like these get blown off a lot, so I'm telling you guys, don't blow them off. Starting with the anatomical position. Now, we want to make sure that we are oriented all to the same place. Okay. So anatomical position, think yoga or mountain pose from yoga. Okay. So feet forward, palms down at your sides facing forward, head facing forward, and looking up. Okay. And I know the QR codes are not cooperating on this, so just click on the one that's like next to the correct picture. I know the letters are wrong. Yeah. So the correct answer to this one is actually going to be A, aka C. So this guy right here, right? So let's talk about A. What's wrong with A? His palms are forward, his feet are forward. So why is A wrong? AKA B. I don't know. This guy right here in the left corner. Exactly. His arms are upright instead of down. He's not standing straight. His legs aren't together. All that kind of stuff, right? What's wrong with D? Brianna's favorite. He's acting a little sassy, but like his feet are forward. Yeah. Okay, slanted stance, but like What else? There's something very specific that I want you guys to look at here. It's small, but it makes a big difference. Palms aren't forward. Exactly. His palms aren't facing forward. So, just a fun way to point out small differences are very important, right? Because if we are talking about where the elbow is in reference to the wrist, right? If you're looking at the correct guy, you can say the elbow is above the wrist. But if we're like looking at number A, you can say that the wrist is above the elbow, and you would be wrong. So don't make that mistake. Okay. So we want to talk about where things are located in reference to one another. The other important thing is imaging. So you guys will come across x-rays and CT scans and all of those cool pictures. Okay. They should all be set up so that you're looking at anatomical positioning. Now, directional terms are usually grouped in pairs of opposites, okay? And I thought I fixed this slide, and apparently it still got cut off. So I'm gonna fix it right now. Okay. So starting with your right and your left, okay? When you are looking at somebody, their right is on your left. So when we talk about right and left with patients, we are talking about their right, not yours. Okay? Because you could be standing behind a patient, you could be standing next to a patient, you could be standing in front of the patient, right? It is going to change where your left is in reference to their right or whatever, vice versa. Okay? So when you talk about right and left, you are always talking about the patient's right or the patient's left, not yours. The next thing, medial and lateral. Okay? Running straight down the body, you have this thing called your midline. So middle line, midline. If you move towards your midline, that is going to be medial. Okay, if you're moving away from the body's midline, that is lateral. So for example, you have these ligaments in your knee, okay? They're in the sides of your knees here and here. So if you have ever heard of an MCL tear or an LCL tear, you are talking about a medial collateral ligament and a lateral collateral ligament, which means you have one more towards the inside and one towards the outside. It's what all specialties use. They all use medial, lateral, peripheral, or proximal, distal, all of that. So medial towards the body midline, lateral away from the body's midline. I'm going to come back to distal and proximal in a second here. Okay. Next, you have above and below. So superior means above, inferior means below. All right. So if you think you are better than somebody, right, you think you are superior to them. If you think somebody is beneath you, okay, they are inferior, right? Their problems are beneath me. They don't matter. They are inferior, okay? Inferior below, superior above. Anterior and posterior, okay? Anterior, you are talking about towards the front of your body. Now, anterior can be used interchangeably with ventral. So I'm going to type it in chat. Anterior means the same thing as ventral. You will see both terms used. Okay? The opposite of anterior is posterior. Posterior means the same thing as dorsal. So posterior towards the back of the body, dorsal towards the back of the body, anterior towards the front of the body, ventral towards the front of the body. Okay, let me actually do that, and then make sure you guys know both terms for both directions, okay? Very important, because you'll see anterior come up all the time. You'll see ventral come up all the time. We expect you guys to know both. Superficial and deep. If you say somebody is superficial, right, they are only looking at looks. So superficial at or near the body surface. Okay, deep is going to be away from the body surface. So this will come up a lot when you talk about burns or when you talk about cuts. Okay, so superficial towards the body surface, deep is away from the body surface. So if you have a superficial burn, not too worried about it. Okay, it's just the skin layers. If you have a deep burn, you should be worried because you are more susceptible to infection that way. We'll talk about those when we get to chapter 6. But superficial at or near the body surface, deep means away from the body surface. Okay. Next, you have proximal and distal. Okay. I'm coming back to this side over here, the left side. Okay. Our left, not the patient's left, because on the patient it would be the right. But all right. So proximal and distal, you are talking about the point of origin. So when we talk about proximal and distal, we are usually talking about your arms or your legs. Okay. What we mean by point of origin, your arms and your legs are going to start at your hip, basically. Okay. Oh, wait, no, I want like the pen guy. There we go. Okay. So this is your point of origin. This is where your leg starts. Starts at your hip. Okay. When you talk about proximal or distal, you are talking about everything in relation to how far they are from that point of origin. So that hip, that is where the leg starts. For your arm, it is going to be your shoulder. Okay. So distal means further from the point of origin. So distal, distant. Okay. Proximal means closer. So if you can remember distal, distant, that'll help. So distal is further from the point of origin. It is more distant from the point of origin. So for example, your knee is more proximal than your ankle, okay? Because your knee is closer to your hip than your ankle. Your ankle is distal to your knee. It is further from that point of origin than your knee. Okay? So next we are going to talk about planes. And the way that I like to explain planes is using the guillotine. Okay? So if you think of a French guillotine, right? It drops straight down. So why is it important that we talk about anatomical position? Because what is that noise? I don't know. One of my cats is getting into something that they shouldn't be because my dogs are both passed out next to me and my daughter's down for a nap. So whatever. I hope the cat's good. But anyways, I stuck a fruit in my guillotine. Okay. So that blade just, oh, so let me explain the guillotine. So like that you have your blade here, it got used during the French Revolution quite a bit. And the blade just like drops straight down. And like you have your unfortunate criminal in your guillotine here. And the blade drops down and chops, right? So I've stuck a fruit in my guillotine. What kind of fruits do you think this might be? Could be an apple. What are some other things? Could be a pear. Could be a cucumber. I heard somebody say like star fruit last semester. Could be a whole bunch of different things, right? But if I stick my fruit in this way, you can very clearly see it's a pear, right? So that is why having an idea of planes is important, right? Because it can show us different angles of things, okay? This is the same fruit. Well, it's pictures of the same fruit, like courtesy of Google, but you can see that they are different angles, okay? So this one cuts across here, that one cuts up and down. So when we talk about planes, we are talking about how it splits. Thank you. So we are talking about how it splits the body. Oh, okay. Oh, did I do the little swipey thingy? Okay, hold on. I think I figured it out. Is it gonna turn on? Hold on. Ah! Nice. I got it. Okay. Because I always like to use my hands for this one. Nice to meet you guys. Sorry. Okay. So with planes, the way that I like to do it is with my hands. So when you're learning it, I would use your hands to do it. Okay. Your sagittal plane, it is going to go right down the center of your body. Okay. So it's going to divide you into left and right halves. So sagittal plane, it's going to go straight down your nose. Okay. It's called a mid-sagittal plane if it is exactly at your midline. Okay, so for those fill in the blanks that you have for your packet, if you're using your packet, that first one, plane, sagittal, divides the body into right and left. Okay, so if you're using your hands to learn it, just hand goes right down your nose. Okay. Next, you have your transverse plane. So your transverse plane cuts across your eyes just like this. Okay. That is going to divide your body into superior and inferior portions, so upper and lower. It is also going to be called your horizontal plane because it runs horizontally. Lastly, you have your frontal plane. Oh, that's very nice. Thank you. Yeah, so frontal plane is going to divide your body into anterior and posterior portions. Okay. It is also called your coronal plane. And the way that you can remember that, there's a
Can
little
you go
crown.
back to the last one, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
So, frontal plane. Frontal plane, I always think of like elephant ears. I don't know why this reminds me of like elephant ears, but like it does. Because it goes like right down the front of your body. Okay? That is going to divide your body into anterior and posterior portions. Right? So we've already talked about that. Anterior is front, posterior is back. It is also called your coronal plane. Coronal means crown. So I have my little illustration that I use to explain. So coronal / frontal plane, okay, goes through the crown. So I always think of King Triton's crown because I feel like it's kind of like flat. So your guillotine is dropping down through his crown. We've cut King Triton in half into the front and the back. Okay. Sagittal / longitudinal, I don't have a good way to remember that, but it's the one that goes down the center of your nose. Horizontal, axial, transverse, flat like a horizon. Okay, that is going to divide into superior, inferior. Now, you guys do not need to know longitudinal, and you don't need to know axial. Okay, I meant to take those off these slides, so don't worry about those terms. You guys do need to know horizontal and transverse, as well as sagittal, as well as coronal / frontal. But like, don't worry about longitudinal, and don't worry about axial. This is a diagram that Dr. A found that I think a lot of students find helpful as well. So if you want to go back and use this, you can. Coronal is like bread. So like you slice bread. Horizontal plane is like a hamburger bun. And sagittal is like a taco. Okay. So whatever helps you guys. I try to make sure that all of our PowerPoints have like similar like graphics like this stuff. I try to pull from hers so that you guys have access to all of them. So sometimes like some of the slides seem like redundant, like they're going over the same thing over and over again. It's just so that you guys have access to everything. If you don't remember everything, that's okay. All right, so positions in nursing. This is something that is a little bit new this semester from what we did last semester. So TT, the funds lead, thought this would be a good opportunity to integrate. I don't remember if she goes by Professor Sode with you guys or not. I think so, but she's the course lead for funds. She's really fantastic as well. But anyways, patient positioning. So make sure I'm going in order. So this graphic is in a different order from the stuff that you have in your packet, but like I have this thingy so we can go through it if you want to. So prone, away from that tailbone. Supine on my spine. Okay, so supine, the patient is lying on their back, lying on their spine. Prone, away from the tailbone. Lateral, they're on their, I don't think we have you guys knowing lateral or stems, so don't worry about those. Okay, Fowler's is sitting up, and Trendelenburg is flat with the head below the feet. So you see that sometimes when you're doing like maternity and peds, if they're trying to like delay labor, they might put them in the Trendelenburg position. Fowler's, the only thing I could think of off the top of my head is when you're like doing blood pressure. Sometimes it's helpful. Okay. So there's my little typey guy. All right, so first guy, she is laying on her front, right? Does anybody remember what this one is?
Prone.
Prone. Prone away from the tailbone. Which one is when they're laying on their backs?
Supine.
Supine. Supine on my spine. Okay, when they have their feet above their head.
Trendelenburg.
Trendelenburg. And then last but not least, sitting up is what? Fowler's.
Fowler.
Exactly, right? So I try, like I said, I take the packets mostly from my PowerPoint. So a lot of the time, if I have fill in the blanks, I try to do this for you guys so that we can go through it together. So I'm like looking at it right now, and so it looks like you can either have their feet raised or not. The main thing about Fowler's that like determines the Fowler's is the angle of the torso. So it looks like if you have their legs angled, it doesn't change it from having their, if that makes sense. Like Fowler's, it doesn't look like differentiates between if the legs are raised or not. Here, I can show you what I mean. G2 patient sees Fowler's. So you can see like here they have the patient's legs kind of angled, and then here they have them flat, right? So I think it's like really just having the torso up is what differentiates that Fowler's position. All right. Yeah, so the opposite of, oh, sorry. Away from the body's midline means lateral. What is the opposite of lateral?
Medial.
Medial, right? Medial towards the midline, lateral away from the midline. Okay? So the correct answer to this is going to be lateral. All right, like 10 more seconds. All right. So, yeah, transverse, right? Transverse is going to divide your body into upper and lower halves. Okay? Ah, I didn't mean to do that, sorry. All right, 10 more seconds. Oh, let's do 15 because there's still like 10 people that haven't answered. And we'll go through this MCQ and then we'll be done for the day because I think this is a pretty good stopping point. So, right, because now classes go 11:30 to 2. Yeah, that's 2 hours. Okay. 2.5 hours, sorry. Yeah, so another name for the coronal plane, frontal plane, literally means crown. Okay, so we're dropping the guillotine down through King Triton's crown. All right. So that's where I'm gonna leave off for you guys. Let me see. Somebody did set up that chat. I saw it in here somewhere. Here it is. I'll like recopy the message so you guys, if you want to join it, you're welcome to do that. I'll leave it open. Otherwise, I will see you guys in person on Monday. I'm stoked to meet everybody and put some faces to the names. Just make sure you're in person on Monday. There is no like joining in-person class from Engagely. It doesn't work like that. So plus, I don't even know how I'm going to record this section. I might record another section. So just make sure you're there. All right. I will see you guys later. Have a great rest of your day. Happy first week of nursing school.
Have a
Bye.
good weekend.
Jayla, yeah.
Have a good day.
Have a good one. Jayla, did you have a question? I can't hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so on my schedule for Fridays, I have two different places to be, but one of them says September 26th and the other one says the 1st, September 1st. So I don't
September
know.
26th and September. On Fridays?
Yes.
Okay, we don't meet on Fridays, so it's probably for another class.
It's two different dates, but it says on Fridays. And they're both
Can
clinicals.
Something.
Oh, clinicals? I have nothing to do with clinicals.
Oh,
That's
okay.
yeah, if you email there's a form. They want you guys to fill out a form.
Can I answer her?
Oh yeah.
So your schedule, you're going to be at the school for that first part. So you're going to see something like September 1st to I think like the 19th. I could be mistaken on the date. And then you're going to see a second one that starts September like 26th till December. So
Okay,
the first
yeah.
one, so the first one you'll complete at school. The second one will be at your actual clinical assignment site.
Okay, and when clinical come up, they're gonna send us like an address to or where the clinical gonna be at. Was it at the school?
So your first part, of course, gonna be at the school, but then when it's time for you to go get your assignment, they're gonna send it to you. You will know for
Okay.
sure.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
See you.
Have a good one.
You too.